Okay, guys, we're live. Hello, everyone. Can you hear us? Please acknowledge in the chat box. Okay, everybody can hear us. So, thank you for joining in. Let's begin. Good evening, everyone. The Department of Training and Placement at DTU is proud to present to you the resume building session for the academic year 2023 and 24. My name is Ashan Bhateja. I am the placement coordinator for mathematics and computing, and along with me are Riya Nayak, also PC Mathematics and Computing, Ritvik Sethi, PC Electronics and Communication, Divyam Yadav, PC Chemical Engineering, and Aryaman Singh, PC Engineering Physics. Riya, can you move on to the next slide? So before we formally begin, I would like to personally thank Professor Rajesh Rohela and Professor Anil Singh Parihar, Head TNP and Associate Head TNP respectively, for giving us the opportunity to work on this session. Today, sir is with us here today, and sir, would you like to say a few words to the people that have joined in for the session? Sir, you're muted, sir.
Yes, thanks for pointing out. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to this wonderful session, which has been actually organized by Training and Placement Department with its own placement coordinators, that is the team that is involved here. And the very purpose of this session is to prepare you for the session, that is internship, as well as full-time hiring session, that is placement session, that is going to start soon. Now, this placement process is one of the most important. This actually is the most important time of your life. You took admission 3 years back or 2 years back for interns, and now it is the most important time where you are very excited about what kind of opportunities you will be actually getting. Now, in today's session, the purpose is to make you aware about what is the requirement of the different companies, and the first interaction with the company is that is in the form of the CV that is put in front of them. It is through this CV that they come to know about, that is, what kind of capabilities you have, what kind of skills you have, and how much suitable you are for the role. So this is the first impression that we'll be having through this resume. So we thought it appropriate to start our sessions with the resume building session. And the team that has the experience that will be sharing their views. In general, when we talk of the first impression, a lot of things are there which do actually matter. The way you present the information, that is very important. The kind of projects that you have already done, the kind of skills that you possess, if it is rightly mentioned in the CV, it will certainly attract the attention of the recruiter. So apart from this, there are many aspects like use of certain keywords, which actually helps you in getting your CV through the automated tracking system. So shortlisting, sometimes you feel that it is a bit dicey when they are getting, say, more than 700, 800 applications, how to screen those applications. So automated process is followed in those cases. So it is at that stage that it does actually matter as to what you have mentioned in your CV. So this is just one aspect that will be discussed. We have decided to consider a lot of examples where some good CVs will be shared with you. That is what kind of good things that CV contains and what is so unique about that particular resume. And uh, we have also included certain average kind of resume where scope of improvement is there. So through those CV, you will come to know that what kind of mistakes are there, which can probably avoid it. So this is just about the resume related to resume, but in general also I would like to uh, talk about few points related to the placement and internship opportunities that you will be getting in this season. The first thing that I would like to confirm is that in spite of some sort of doubt over the scenario that is was actually happening in the industry, kind of slowdown that was being apprehended, now, most of the companies are in the process of either onboarding or have already started that process. And majority of our students, they will be getting the joining. Only for two, three companies where they have deferred the joining, they have not revoked the offer. They have simply deferred the joining, just keeping in view the scenario. But they have confirmed that they will be honoring the offers which they have given to the students. So nothing to worry for your session also, that is 23-24. We are in touch with many of the recruiters and already many of the companies have confirmed their participation in the placement process. So you don't have to worry about the kind of opportunities that you will be getting. So we will try our level best to provide you best of the opportunities, and we have a good team which is committed to make it sure that you get the best of the opportunities, and you get the opportunities which you actually do deserve because you have worked hard during the last few years. So a few things I would also like to share, that you have to prepare properly. So resume is just one stage. After that, when you actually do come for tests and interviews, you need to be thorough in your approach. That is, you need to be thoroughly professional. Like you have to be properly dressed up. This is needless to say. Still, many a times students do take a casual approach, so that should be avoided. You should not miss an opportunity just because of these small points. Then in many of the cases last year students were having the apprehension that during the online test, mm, the process sometimes tend to be biased and some of the students do manage to cheat. So we will try our level best that this does not occur, because the best of the students should get the opportunity to be interviewed. Because if you do any kind of cheating, it will create a bad impact on the recruiters and it may even affect the entire batch. So my advice is you need to be fair and there is opportunity for everyone. You don't have to worry. The initial part of the placement session, that is normally very challenging, and many a times even the best of the students, they do get disappointed if they are not selected in few initial companies. So you don't have to worry. There is no dearth of opportunity. Lot of opportunities will be there. Only thing is it has to be your day. So on your part, try your level best, identify your interest, and by now you must have actually, as mentioned in some of our earlier sessions, you must have identified your interest, and I will advise you focus on your core interest, whether you are interested in tech roles or non-tech roles, or even in tech roles, whether you have any specific interest or you are interested in core. So identify your interest and work on that. It is it is not possible that you keep applying on all sort of jobs coming, that is opportunities that you are getting. So you have to identify your strength and work on improving your skills. So I understand that the team is waiting for starting the session. You will also be excited to know. But again, I am confirming you that our team will be working hard and we will be doing our level best to get you the best of the opportunities. And if you have any queries, we we can fix up certain slots to answer your queries, and team will be there. So I'll be issuing a notice in that regard, so that you have some fixed time where your queries can be answered, and our team will be available for answering those queries. These may be online sessions and even in physical mode. If somebody wishes to come, you can contact the office, and through our notice, I'll try to share maximum information with you, so that mm, it is easy for you to resolve all your queries. And we'll be organizing some more sessions, and we do expect you to participate in all those sessions. It will be really wonderful. So I wish you all the best for the upcoming session, placement session, and I hope that you will get the job of your dreams. I wish you all the best. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir, for those kind words of welcome. We could not have asked for a better start for the evening. Ria, can we move on to the next slide? All right, so let's formally begin our session for the evening. Today's agenda will go one by one. We'll discuss common points that are uniform for all the CVs. We'll dive deep and discuss do's and don'ts for each CV, and then we'll move on to CVs that are specific to tech jobs, such as software developer, software web engineer, app developer, machine learning engineer, etc. Then we'll move on to the core section for the circuital branches, which are electronics, electrical, and engineering physics, and the non-circuital branches such as chemical engineering, biotechnology, civil engineering, environmental engineering, and then we'll move to the non-tech section. And finally, we'll have the doubt session. Ria, can we move on to the next slide? So, first of all, what is the purpose of a CV? Sir has already pointed it out. You are going to be using your CV to apply to the companies that are going to be coming for the upcoming placement and intern season. And your CV is supposed to reflect everything that you've done for all the years that you were present at DTU, or anything that you've done before that if you're a PG student. So it's a brief summary of who you are, and it should be concise, and it should provide an overview of your professional background, your qualifications, and everything that you've done, your skills. And then once again, it's used to apply to the companies, and then it should showcase your qualifications. That means your education qualification, and it should be in reverse chronological order. So if you're a student at UG student at DTU right now completing your BTech, that should be at the top, followed by your 12th class, followed by your 10th class. And if you're a PG student, your PG should be at the first, and then the same procedure should be followed as I said before. It should also include your work experience. If you have any industrial experience, if you have done any internships or any full-time roles, your CV should reflect that. And whatever skills you have, if you're a web developer, it should reflect that in your resume. Ria, let's move on to the next slide. Yeah. So if this is something that everybody is doing, then what should you do to ensure that your resume stands out from the rest? So the first thing that comes to mind is having a good CGPA. So since you're a fresher and you would not have a lot of experience, but when you're a student of your university and you've done a lot of and you've done good in your education, it's a good indicator to the HR. It shows that you're a sincere student. So the higher your CGPA is, the better your chances are. And then once again, suppose you're applying for a position as a web developer. So if you have skills like HTML, CSS3, JavaScript, and frameworks such as React, Express, and experience with the MERN stack, this is something that your CV should reflect, and this is something that the recruiter will notice. Of course, if you have any industrial experience, that is also a big plus point. And it shows that you already know how to work in the industry. And if you do not have any intern experience, does not matter, you're a fresher and it's not expected of you. And you can always fill up your CV with projects. So if you've created great projects, let's say for web or app or machine learning, and they're focused on a real world problem, recruiters are highly impressed by that. So you can always create more projects, create good projects, and add them to your CV. Lastly, the achievements. If you have won any hackathon or a debate competition or a case study competition, you should reflect that in your CV, and you should also attach relevant certificates to show that the information that you've put there is authentic. Ria, let's move on to the next slide. Okay. So what are the key components of an ATS compliant system? First of all, ATS is automatic application tracking system. Since usually people apply in large numbers to companies, recruiters tend to not see each resume individually. Rather, they use their own in-house software, which is known as an ATS. And the ATS itself returns the expected number of applications as requested by the recruiter. And each ATS is different, but these are the 6 sections that are common and vital in each ATS. That is, first of all, the education section. It is the most important, followed by the work experience, followed by projects, followed by achievements, skills, and positions of responsibility. Ria, let's move on to the next slide. So this is what your CV should look like. This is also the format that is recommended by the Department of Training and Placement. As stated before, the 6 components of an ATS compliant system can be clearly seen in the subheadings of this sample resume. So as you can see, the header includes your name, phone number, email, and roll number. You should mention your roll number for the on-campus placements. It helps to track your application easier. Also, when you're mentioning your phone number, please be sure to include the country code, which is +91 for India, since a lot of international students are also there. So to avoid any vagueness, you should be including your country code as well. Then once again, coming back to the education section, it should be in the reverse chronological order, and it should include your current CGPA, your class 12th 10th marks, followed by your internship and work experience. Again, this is also in reverse chronological order, and you should be describing your work and technology correctly and crisply, right? And then the next section is your projects. These could be your academic projects which you've done, like keeping in mind your major. For example, I am a mathematics student, and if I have made a project related to linear algebra or let's say financial mathematics, I can add that here. This is usually called an academic project. Other than that, I can also add web or app projects for whatever role I'm applying to the company for. Academic achievements and awards. So let's say that you've won a podium position in an Olympiad, or once again hackathons or debate championships or a slam poetry competition. You can add that here with relevant proof. Then the skill section, all skills, whether take or non-take, all libraries or frameworks that you use. If you're good at data analysis, you can also mention that here. And lastly, your PURs and extracurriculars. So if you have a PUR at a society right now, you can mention that along with the starting and ending dates, and with your position, with the work that you've done there. Next slide. Yeah. So I'll pause here for 1 minute. You can scan this QR code and it will lead you to a Google Doc that will take you to the TNP official recommended CV format that was shown in the last slide. We also recommend learning LaTeX or using Microsoft Word to build your resume, because those resumes hold up better in the ATS as compared to resumes created by Google Doc. This is something that we have tried and tested. So it would be better if you learn both of these softwares. Alright, I think we're ready to move on to the next slide. If not, you can just pause the stream and just quickly scan this QR code, and it will take you to the Google Doc of the TNP recommended format. Now, once again, education section should include your college CGPA, your major. Like my major is mathematics and computing, and my degree is Bachelor of Technology. And I started at DTU in December 2020, and my expected date of graduation is May 2024. It should be clearly mentioned on your CV, followed by your class 12th results, percentage, and your class 10th marks, percentage or CGPA, whatever the system was in your school. The next section is your internships. The internships are work experience. You should. I'll take that up when we show you the sample resume. So, Ria, if you can quickly move on to the next two slides. Yeah. So these are some common points that you should be keeping in mind while designing your resume. So the first and the most important point is keep your CV limited to one page only. We have seen a few of you have designed 2-page CVs, and 2-page CVs are hardly appreciated. Keep it limited, keep it to one page, and keep it full of relevant information. And then the second point, be honest. Do not put any achievements, any internship for which you do not have proof, because before you join any company, every company does a background check, and if it's found that you have falsified your information in your CV, it would be a big trouble for you, and your offer might even be removed. The third point is including time period of engagement that I've already told. So when your degree started and when your degree ended or is supposed to end, and for whatever period you were employed in a company during your internship, you should mention that. And even if you're making a project, you can add your time period in a project as well. Suppose you're designing a project, you can add that you've made this project in June 2023. And once again, if you're doing that, do it in a reverse chronological order. Your latest project should be on top. And the fourth one, properly align and format the data. It makes it easier for the recruiter to read your resume. If there's proper alignment and proper formatting of the data, the text is uniform, and there's no weird increments in the font size or change in font as well. Then the fifth point, use technical words and action verbs. So if you remember in 12th class, you used to do note making. You're supposed to do a similar thing here. Keep it short, keep it crisp. Do not use pronouns. For example, do not say I have designed a website. Just say that designed a website that has this functionality. And use technical words. So suppose you're working on an ML project. Write something like implemented an end-to-end pipeline. Use technical words because it should reflect the work that you've done there. And then sixth, target keywords. I've already discussed this before. For whatever job you're targeting, use relevant keywords for that profile. So I've written an example for a web developer. Suppose I was targeting an ML position. I should have written I have a proficiency in Python and R programming, and I am familiar with the libraries such as TensorFlow, Pandas, Keras, NLTK, etc. And then 7th point, the description of the project. In one line, you're supposed to describe what your project does, and in the second line, you can describe the impact that it has. If it's a deployed project, you can say it targets this much audience, and you should also mention the tech stacks. Now moving on to the don't section. Okay, so this I've already discussed before. The first point, do not overflow your CV with irrelevant information. So if you're applying for an embedded engineer position, it will not help you if you've mentioned that you know how to design a website, because it's not part of the job description and it's not required there. Then the third point, yes, do not write those skills or tech stacks that you're not familiar with. So this is something that people who are applying to ML profiles do. Since you're using a lot of libraries, they just add those libraries, all of them, and they add a few more. So don't do that. Also, like if writing React, some people write Angular as well. So in your interview, you might be cross questioned about the tech stacks that you've written. So if you do not know those technologies, please don't add them. It will make your interview go bad. Fourth point, do not mention projects without their GitHub link or supporting documentation. It shows that you have actually built your project. So suppose you've mentioned your project, just mentioning it will not help. If you have added a GitHub link, it will show that you've actually made that project, because there's no other way of verifying it. Fifth point, do not use improper alignment, different font sizes, etc. Use a serif font. Times New Roman and Arial or Calibri does best, and it's the easiest font to read for the recruiters. And do not use improper alignment. Keep it justified, left to right, keep the margins equal. Sixth, do not include confidential information. So if you've done, let's say, an internship at DRDO and so what happens is you're not supposed to reveal what you did there, and it happens in a lot of research interns as well. So keep in mind, whatever you are declaring, is that confidential information? Should you be declaring it in your CV? Yes or no? 7, do not use any other format other than PDF. So this is because a lot of people use different OS, and some people may not have the same font that you're using in your CV, which is why I said Arial, Times New Roman and Calibri, because almost all systems have that font. So what is going to happen if you're going to use a doc format? Your CV is going to change and it might mess up depending on the person's system. So if you use a PDF format, there is no chance of changing of alignment or your structure of the resume. Lastly, do not make grammatical mistakes. Keep your English consistent. You can use an extension like Grammarly for help. Yeah, let's move on to the section. Yeah, so once again, coming back to the key components of an ATS compliant system resume. This is how you should be mentioning your resume. One person has done it in the tabular format, and one has just mentioned it in lines using a justified alignment. See that he has mentioned that Delhi Technological University, formerly DC, because since the name of our college was recently changed in the last 15 years, so he has also mentioned DC so that it will target the recruiters as well. You can say that DC is a keyword here, and if an ATS is looking for people who have graduated from DC, this resume has a higher chance of getting picked up. See that he has mentioned August 2018 as the starting date and May 2022 as the ending date. And he has also mentioned the CGPA up to what semester, and the CGPA has been blurred out because of privacy reasons. And then the Bachelor of Technology, your course, followed by your branch, computer engineering. This is very concise, very clear, and it is not likely to confuse the recruiter at all. Coming to the next two lines, the similar way has been done for the class 12th and class 10th result. This is strictly how you should mention your education in your resume. Ria, can we move on to the next slide? Okay, coming to experience. Once again, some of the sections of the experience section has been blacked out to protect the identity of the person. So in the first line that has been blacked out, the name of the company goes there, followed by the engagement period. So since the profile is software development intern, as you can see in the second line, the intern started in June 2021 and it ended in July 2021. So the engagement period is very clear. And below that, the location of the intern has also been mentioned, Bangalore in Karnataka. So, and this is a healthy habit because let's say your intern was remote, you can mention that here, that you have not worked in office. And then look at the description of the intern. It is a very clear description that the person has done this and that in their tenure as an intern. And you can also see some words that have been highlighted, like microservices, Google Fit, HealthKit data, database schema, React Native SDK. This is highlighting the tech stacks they have worked on and what they've done, designed, integrated, developed. So when a recruiter is reading your resume, their attention is going to go towards the highlighted words, so, which is why it's also recommended to highlight words in a smart manner. Uh, you can look at the next experience, full stack development intern. The description is consistent with the last work. It has notice how everything has also been mentioned in the reverse chronological order, as I have stressed 3 or 4 times before. And once again, look at the quantification of impact, implemented 10 plus new features, and the highlighting of Pass AI, LAMP, PHP, MySQL, Node.js, and AWS. And the last is also in the follows the same principle. Let's move on to the next slide. Projects. So when you're designing a project, the first thing that you should do is you should give it a proper name, as has been given here, Sach Ka Samna in DTU Resume Manager. If you're designing a social media website, don't just leave it at social media website. Give it your own name. Whatever unique functionality it implements, you can maybe use that to integrate into your name. So whoever is reading the name of the project can have an idea about what it does. So in the first slide, in the first line, the name of the project is mentioned, and if the project is deployed, you should link your project to that so that the recruiter can use the project for himself and see what it does, whether it's working correctly, followed by the tech stacks that you use. So in Sach Ka Samna, Python, Flask, TensorFlow, and Azure was used, followed by the GitHub link. Again, I'm stressing why you should mention your GitHub link, because it stands as proof that you've actually done work on that project. And writing the description of your project is quite important as well. In the first line, you should describe what your project does. Keep it short, keep it simple, keep it crisp. Do not overflow your CV with information. Do not say I developed. Just once again reminding you what you used to do in 12th class in note making. Use straight action verbs. In the second line, try to explain it a little more. If your project is deployed, once again, quantify the impact that your project has. If you've done any optimization in your project, you can mention that as well. And once again, you can take a moment and read the description of DTU Resume Manager, and you'll find that it's consistent with what has been written above. And keeping everything consistent is one of the most important points when designing a CV. Okay, moving on, skills and coursework. So this is specific to tech jobs, right? So technical skills, your programming skills, C, C++, JavaScript, TypeScript, whatever programming languages you know, whatever frameworks you know, whatever libraries you know, you can mention that here. You can use a pipe sign as Sir has used here, or you can use a comma. Both hold up okay in an ATS. And then Sir has also mentioned familiar with AWS, Azure, PHP, etc. You can also do that. And your coursework is the courses that you've studied during your like education in your college. So as mentioned, object-oriented programming, software engineering, algorithm analysis, etc. This is the courses that people from COE, IT, SE, and MC study. So if you're a student of any other branch aiming for a tech job, there is no need to mention coursework like that. It's definitely not necessary and is completely optional. Coming to the achievement section, everything has been mentioned and everything has been highlighted. So Codeforce's highest rating 1852. So since Codeforce's in 1852 is highlighted, the recruiter is going to read Codeforce's in 1852 and he's going to think that whoever CVs that their code forces rating is 1852, which is correct. And once again, whatever achievements and awards you're adding in your CV, they should come with proper proof. Lastly, positions of responsibility and volunteering. First of all, if you do not have a POR, do not worry, it does not matter in tech jobs. I'm once again repeating, in tech jobs, having a POR is not necessary at all. Obviously, if you have it and you want to mention it, you can mention your position and mention your society. Once again, mention your engagement period, and in 1 or 2 lines, describe what you did there. So in the first section, Vice President Mathematics and Computing Society, this section has been picked from my CV, and you can see it clearly states all the relevant information for the recruiter. So it shows what was my position, it shows where my position was, and it shows my engagement period, and in 3 lines it describes the work that I have done in the last year. And you can see the numbers that have been added in each line. So that once again is called quantifying the impact. So don't just write successfully organized workshops that tended to a large number of people. Try to get access to a reasonable approximation, and you can mention that in your CV. In the other CV that we have also picked, you can see web development coordinator IEEE DTU. It's very clearly written what the person has done during their role. Mentor at Codesk Cafe and event header IEEE Women in Engineering. And you can also notice the clear cut action verbs and target verbs that have been used here. Successfully organized, coordinated with BitGrid, organized and coordinated, provided guidance, mentored a group, managed, designed and conducted. Try to use words like that in your resume. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, what not to do. So think of everything that I've said in the last 10 minutes and see what could I do to improve these 2 lines better. So the first thing is cat detection model using machine learning. It's a very vague title. Do it better. Machine learning is a very wide topic, so you cannot just write machine learning and be done with it, right? And deployed a cat detection model using logistic regression with high accuracy. Instead of writing high accuracy, everybody knows that when you're training and testing a ML model, you have access to the accuracy, both train and test. So instead of writing high accuracy, mention the accuracy in the numerical value, and made use of NumPy, Matplotlib and SciPy. This could have been moved on into the first line as well, using a pipe sign and just writing NumPy, Matplotlib, SciPy and Python. What this could have done is that it would have given the person more space to write more relevant information in their CV. And then once again, check out the next project, using graph theory to uncover networks. What exactly in graph theory, right? What algorithm or what type of graph did you use, and how did it help, and what was the impact? Do you have any scores to measure how good your project was? And then lastly, reserved Inspire 2017. 2017 was 6 years ago, so don't mention anything that is beyond 3 or 4 years. It becomes irrelevant as you age. Only mention your recent achievements. Let's move on. Alright, we are done with the tech section. I would now hand over the mic to Ritvik and Divyam, who are now going to explain resumes for core profiles, circuital and non-circuital.
Hi, thank you, Ishan. Thank you very much, and thank you for handing us the mic as well. So me and my colleague and co-PC Ritvik would be explaining how one can go about building their resume and what are the specific guidelines which one must follow when they're preparing a core resume. So over here, core includes 2 aspects. One is the circuital and the other is the non-circuital. Yes, you can highlight that as well. Yeah. So as we can see that these circuital branches includes EC, electrical engineering, and the engineering physics department, whereas the non-circuital includes the mechanical engineering, process industrial engineering, chemical engineering, civil engineering, and environmental engineering, along with biotechnology and others as well. Uh, so the major difference over here is one is circuital, which uses circuits, as the name goes, and the others focus on the factory work, the processes, and the various production lines of any company which is to come, as well as developing buildings, formulating quality assurance models, and so on. Right. So, Ritvik, why don't we start with the circuit side of things first?
Great. Thank you, Divyam, and thank you, Ishan. So I think the best way to do that is looking at the resume, right? So I think Ishan has covered everything already about how your CV should be great in all of its aspects. And if you're looking at the core aspect of it, so I'm going to focus on the circuital part of it. So that means it's all relevant for people who are interested to go in core companies. Just to name a few, like Texas Instruments, Qualcomm, Google Hardware, NXP, SanDisk, so on and so forth. Right. So for them, I think it's very important that you guys have the correct layout of the resume, as Ishan suggested, as well as focus on your projects. So I think the first section we're going to start with is your projects. And I think it's very important for all of you to understand that for a core profile, projects is almost everything your CV can highlight for you. It tells what kind of a person you are and why should the company hire you, because at the end of the day there you can broadly categorize your core circuital resume into two parts. Like if you're applying for either digital intern role or an analog role, or maybe in some cases embedded, right? So it's important that if you're going into the digital or analog aspects of it, you need to have a hardware project, which is why I think everyone should have at least one hardware project, and you should mention that on top. So as Ishan said, that there are ATS softwares that are going to be there to select those resumes on your own. So I'll just give you an instance. Google Hardware came in last year, and they picked up students for the core internship opportunities. And I think the ones that got selected were the ones that had clearly mentioned what kind of hardware projects did they do. Right. So, for instance, I'll give you an example of a hardware project that goes well. So here I've put Autobot. So Autobot is a hardware prototype, and it's capable of communicating using Python, and it has certain specifications that it follows, and for the connection establishment you use sockets, right? So if you're looking at it from an EC point of view, you've made a hardware project, that's the electronics part, you've assembled the entire thing on your own, and then the communication aspect of it, so you're covering that using Python and sockets, right? So an example project like this would literally tell you that why you're the right candidate for a core profile if you're from EC. Similarly, even for electrical and EP, because of the hardware project that you've made, it really puts forth about how a good CV you have, right, with those important projects that you need. Similarly, if someone wants to go into the digital side, then you have projects like Universal Shifter. So here you've mentioned how you've created whatever you've created using VHDL and Xilinx as ISE. So these are the softwares. VHDL is a coding language that is used in digital electronics, and Xilinx is the platform that you use it on. And then you've performed simulations on Java and VLab Simulator. So you've mentioned all of those, and you've mentioned why it is an important project from the core aspect of it. Again, so if someone wants to go into analog, right, a good project might be like a sensitive sound activated LED system using BJTs. So in analog, I think that I hope you all know that there are two type of transistors mainly that we work with, BJTs and MOSFETs, right? So if you're mentioning something that you've made out of those two, I think it puts a great impact on what candidate you are, and how they will be able to distinguish you from the other candidates who are coming in, right? And similarly, if someone wants to go into the realm of signal processing, right? So for that, and sample project could be if you've made, let's say, here I've made something, I've used BCI, right? So BCI is brain computer interface. So what you're doing is, again, the signal processing aspect of it that is used in all three: electronics, electrical, and EP, and how you're using those signals like EEG, ECG, and you're using platforms like MATLAB and softwares like BCI, and you're enhancing your projects through using everything a core profile would require. So I think that's how you should really focus on a core resume. I think it's important that you work on your projects. And then finally, Ria, could you scroll down just a bit? Yeah, so I think core doesn't necessarily mean that you all need to have entirely core projects. It's going to be great if you have certain skills, something outside the world of core. Let's say, just for example, if you work on robotics, or if you work on machine learning, deep learning, AI, right? So I think it's very important that you use such skills, add them into your CVs, and also do a project outside the world of core, because it then shows your interviewers, your the people that are hiring you, the companies that are hiring you, of what kind of a candidate, well-rounded candidate it is going to be, right? So here I've given example of basically simulating this drone attack using YOLO object tracking. So I've used certain aspects of machine learning, certain aspects of ROS. ROS is robots operating software or operating system, right? So you've basically explained how you can use things other than the core aspect of it to show what kind of a candidate you are. And then obviously POR, that is going to be the same as what Ishan has already mentioned, except for the fact if you have really something in a, let's say you're in a core tech team, right, or in your core society, then it's great to put those out there, and you can tell that you're leading in whatever doing in the core profile through those PORs. And I read a few comments where people were asking that what do we do if we don't have PORs? That's okay for now. I mean, it's obviously advantageous to you if you have one, but it's okay. You can do okay without it, right? So the way to lengthen your CV at that point in time when you don't have a lot of things to write to, I'll just get to that in a couple of minutes. Before moving on, if you're going into something like a core profile, I think nowadays it's very important that you have the right mindset for research, right? And the best way to show what kind of research you're in is through publications. So it's advice to everyone that also in the world of core, in the field of core, you should research a bit about your core profiles. It may be digital, may it be analog, maybe embedded signal processing, anything, right? It's very important that you have that aspect of researching and putting down the publications that you might require the most, right? And then skills. So other than projects and publications, I think the third most important thing is listing down your skills. So for those of you who want to lengthen your CV, the best way to do that is listing down skills. Whatever skills you've developed in the field of core as well as outside, it's great to just put them all there. And as sort of a proof that yes, you do know your skills, you can add something like certifications. So I hope you guys all know that there's something called as Coursera. There are certain courses on them. You can do those courses, right? And you can put the certification that you achieve on your resume to really, brighten your CV, to make sure that you have everything what you need to really get selected, no matter what, right? And so skills includes not just your core domain like analog, digital. Like if you are into digital, you want to include Verilog. That's again a coding language. Then C++ to show that you just are not restricted to the core world, but you also know outside. Python, MATLAB. I think MATLAB is also very important these days. And Arduino, right? So whatever projects you're going to do, I'm guessing most of you will be using an Arduino. So it's very important that you also just not include Arduino in your project, but also understand how it works. How you're going to program it, how you're going to integrate the hardware and the software aspects of it, and really build one project end to end, right? And then whatever else you've done, whatever else you've worked on outside the world of core, be sure to include those in the skills section. And I think that's about it for the skills section. And then finally the achievements, right? So I think it's great to have any achievements. Again, it doesn't have to be related to the core field, it can also be related to outside, but whatever you guys have, it's best to put it out on there. And I think that should be it from my side, from the Circuital CV resume, core resume point of view. And any questions, we can take that at the end. So I think that should be good. We can move on to the non-Circuital core CVs. And for that, I'd like to hand over the mic again to Divyam. Divyam, please take it away.
Yep. Thank you very much, man. So for non-circuital, not much changes. The major things which differ, and I'll just add on to those, will be the relevant courseworks. Since the non-circuital aspect of the core varies a lot, and in DTU we all know that chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, process engineering, these type of companies have a very similar kind of roles which they come for. So to highlight what the relevant coursework to the relevant company would be is the main part, which you can leverage. Ria, if you can scroll down a little. So you can leverage that in the skills area to mention the coursework which you've done in your college. For example, the type of FEC you have taken. If you've taken financial statement analysis, you can mention that. If you're doing any minor in any of the specific domain of your degree, you can also mention that. Like if you're pursuing a minor in petroleum engineering, you can highlight that for applying to many petroleum companies which count. If you're minoring in data science, data analytics, etc., you can mention that, and so on. Other than that, to actually get the industry trends going in your field is quite important. For example, right now, sustainability and conserving fuel is one big trend, right? So you can mention that what are the research work and what are the various the skills through your certifications that you are looking at the industrial trends at large and are moving towards what the industry demands. Since we all know that our coursework in many places, in the core specifically, is quite outdated. So it shows well to the people who come to recruit you that you are keeping up with the industry trends and make you more hireable. So I'd suggest that go over the what the company is doing, your dream companies in core, and see where their gender trend is moving towards, and make your profile that way. The other part which comes over here is to show your problem solving abilities. So in core, mostly your work would include making and optimizing your process lines to generate more, to give more yield, while at the same time to decrease the cost of the operations. So you have to show yourself as a problem solver at large. Your CV is there to tell a story and sell you as a person. So you have to sell yourself as a person who solves problems and makes processes more efficient. So you can do it by telling them that you identified certain problems in the processes of, let's say, taking up a chemical engineering project you took, and how you optimize those projects theoretically using various software to do that. And that goes on to showing that you are someone who is made for this field. The other one is the industry experiences. So on the industry experiences part, what matters the most is not how big of a company you worked in for your internships, but the quality of work you've done for core, especially for because end of the day, the companies which are recruiting you, they'll want to see you as a person who also who is someone who optimizes their process lines. So that is somewhere you'll have to take up quality projects over the name of the company any day. So go over for quality projects in your internships, and in your when you get your internship certificates, make them highlight that what was the impact you've given, and try to highlight that on your CV as well. For example, if you've optimized a process, by X%, highlight that and say and quantify it by how much cost was saved or how much time was saved by your intervention, and so on and so forth. So yeah, those were the major points. Rest of the things are very common throughout the courses. Don't lie on your resume. Show yourself as a team leader and a team player, and show yourself as someone who will be a person you want to hang out with. So your story by your resume should tell that. Yep. I think we can move ahead, Ria.
Okay, so
Yeah, Rima.
non-tech part will be handled by Arman. Arman, take over.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I know the session has been going a little long. I'll try and keeping it short and crisp. So first of all, we'll be going over the non-technical profiles and resumes. So basically, the world of non-tech that people usually club together as one, which is actually more than 10 to 15 profiles altogether. So let's just take a brief look into what type of roles they tend to offer and how you should tweak your resume a bit so that it actually aligns with your purpose. Can we have the next slide? Yeah. So basically, the types of profiles offered in non-tech are broadly divided into our three categories, varying from research in consulting, revolving around data, and then there's the business support and financial. In the consulting, you have your research analysts, business analysts, technical analysts, while in the products, you have your product managers, analysts, and data scientists and data consultants. You must have heard of all these roles. In business support and financials, of course, there is supply chain management and operations, while also being business development, mergers and acquisitions, and many more. I'm sure you'll be familiar with all of these companies, such as American Express, Sprinkler, MasterCard hiring for their product roles, or Lenskart or Reliance for the business roles, and obviously the famous Big Three and Big Four in Bain, BCG, and McKinsey, and KPMG, PwC, Deloitte, and so more. All of these companies tend to come to our campus for hiring purposes, and they offer good packages in terms of non-tech, basically. So if anybody tends to aim towards building a profile in non-tech, you should essentially take care of your extracurricular activities and the ones that you're actually doing in your BTech. Can we have the next slide for the specializations? Yeah. So here we can look how we need to extra tweak your projects. Previously, you've seen that the tech guys put the links for the projects and how they deploy it. And actually, you cannot do that stuff for if you're aiming for, let's say, a business development profile or a product analyst profile. So what we tend to do is we do keep links, but we publish them on different sites or different blogs or websites like those. Essentially, publishing them in a written way as such, keeping a record. So as you can see here, our different projects are now varying from being MERN stack websites to essentially analytics books, trading strategies via ML programs, or well, certainly measuring the impacts of COVID-19 on employees in India and so on and so forth, that we essentially measure what an impact a certain factor has on our target field. This tends to happen in product roles or in business roles. Coming on next to our PORs. Can we have the next slide? Yeah. So in describing your PORs, ideally you have to quantify each of your mentioned bullet point. That's the one key thing I would like to tell you. PORs are quite essential if you would like to get into the field of non-tech, especially when the interviewer asks you, is going to grill you about what have you done other than your studies and obviously other than your CGPA. As you can see in our mentioned sections, he or she has absolutely mentioned a number in at least almost each line, essentially quantifying his or her contribution so that they can get a good idea of how much better or how much added value they provided to the organization. It can be in your college societies or your outside organizations. It won't really matter. Do tend to pursue internships in the sector that you want to go in. Essentially, like if you want to get a product job, do tend to go as a product associate or product internship. And if you want to go into a business development role, do get into a business development internship, essentially. So essentially wrapping up through the resume building profiles in non-tech, it tends to tweak it a little bit towards the POR part and the achievement part, as in the recruiter will grill you on what have you actually written in the resume, other than testing your on-site skills of previous knowledges. And obviously, there are your case studies and guesstimates, which will be a standard part of a non-tech procedure as we go on forward to a profile building workshop sometime in the next future. So ending this session today, we will be coming to the questions that you will be posting in the YouTube chat. And yeah, team, let's take it away.
We're ready to answer questions in the meeting. Please put your questions in the chat box. No, Rhythm Bansal, there is a clear difference between part-time jobs and internships. Gaurav Vishwakarma, Bhaiya, I have tried changing the docs to PDF by managing the version of the file and now it's not working. You might have made a mistake. You can contact your handling PC or you can put a message in your TNP group and I'm sure someone will reach out to you and help you out soon. How long will our resume be logged? Can we update it every month? Yes, you can and you should regularly update your CV. As to when your CVs will be logged, we don't have any idea and we will let you know well in time. So you can calm down because I'm seeing a lot of panic in the chat. Resume लॉक होने से पहले बहुत पहले बता दिया जाएगा, so you can finalize your CV before it gets to the locking phase.
Yep. And Ishan, there were some questions which people have asked previously in the meet as well, so we can answer that and wrap up with the session.
Yeah.
The people have asked that what is a good CGPA? So yeah, good CGPA varies like a lot depending upon what type of company you're aiming for, and but it's safe to be on the 9.0 plus side for if you're aiming for a good tech company, and to have any CGPA above 8.5 is go to. So try to maintain a CGPA of 8.5 plus if you can throughout your undergrad. And do I add certificates in the achievements? So in achievements aspects, you do not have to add certificates unless it's a very competitive course which you've cracked and completed. For example, if you have gotten yourself enrolled into some course of Harvard, which many people are applying to, so that's a good achievement to have. Unless, other than that, there's a separate column of certificates and skills where you can add those where you can add those certificates other than that. The recordings will be available for the session. As someone asked, will the recordings be available? So yes. You will also be getting the PPTs on the mails, I believe, which you have sent us to. So we'll try to send it over if we can. And the projects, the status of the projects, right. So the people were asking what if the projects are not deployed as of yet, or if they're still being made. So in case of that, just try to complete it as soon as possible, the project first, and it is good to mention the impact which you've created through the project on the CV, so that once the resume is seen and shortlisted, you're not caught off guard by the recruiter. But try to avoid writing any such thing which is not complete as of now on your CV. But yes, you can do that.
One thing I wanted to add, for an ongoing project which is not deployed yet, or you're planning to not deploy it, you can, first of all, for an ongoing project, you can obviously upload it to GitHub, because you can control the version from it. So even if it's an ongoing project, you can add it and the recruiter can see what progress you've made so far, right? And when you're done with your project, you can just update it using GitHub. For a project that's not deployed but is complete, once again, GitHub का link डाल दो.
Yes.
So I saw a couple of questions for the core side. So like for instance, Subrajit asked if what under which section do I describe the work I did in a tech team? So okay, Subrajit, it depends on what kind of work you've done. I'm pretty sure if you're in a tech team, you worked on a certain project. So it's best to include it in the project and describe what your contribution to the project was and what was the outcome of the project. right? And there are more questions such as, can I mention internship that is going currently also during the interview? You can. That basically, yeah, you can. And there was one question: if I'm not very proficient in a skill, should I still put it on my resume? I may not answer all questions on it. See, if you are confident that I will be able to be proficient in this over time, definitely add it. If not, as long as you have basics covered, I think it's okay to put it on a resume. But again, if your interviewer does ask something based on that skill and you may not answer all questions of it, you have to make sure that you reach a certain threshold and then put it on your resume. Otherwise, there's no point.
Yes, to add on to that part, like just मतलब एक threshold है जो कि आप measure कर सकते हो, like have your peers interact with you on that skill, like make them quiz
Yeah.
you. If you're able to like conduct a conversation with your peers who are pretty knowledgeable in that field, and have a conversation with them, then it's good enough to put on your resume. And अपने उसको back भी कर दो किसी project के साथ उस skill को, so that it's not something in vacuum. And if the interview asks and you're not able to answer, so just tell them that you're not able to answer it now, but you learn it over the time and come back to you. So many people have also asked that if they do not have any internship experience or a POR, so what should they do at that time? So yeah, position of responsibility is one such thing which you can which you can also take experience from many other places. जैसे अपना प्रोजेक्ट देश का मेंटोर का, वहाँ पे you had the responsibility of mentoring a person. So it's up to you to creatively navigate through your life and see where were the responsibilities you were given and you fulfilled it and present it nicely to someone. Other than that, अगर कुछ नहीं है तो उस section को खाली छोड़ दो, and especially for internship experiences, उस section को खाली छोड़ दो unless and until you do not have an offer letter for that internship or a completion certificate. So because that is something which acts as a proof once you either you're applying through TNP or applying off campus, that is a proof for on your resume for that. So yes, I hope that too answers it. And if there's any question, we'll take it up quickly. Otherwise, we'll be ending
Okay,
the session in 5 minutes.
so someone is asking, can we have resume without work experience? Yes, you can. Since you are going for an internship, so the interviewers doesn't expect so much from you in regards of work experience, so you can remove it from your resume.
So one person asked, should we add LOR from professors? Not in a resume, not required. You'll be asked to give an LOR separately if the profile requires it. And there was key, should I add online course certification in resume? If yes, then under which section? You should, if that is important for for the proof aspect of it, that's your skill. So you should do it, and you should do it under the skill section, like the core resume was shown. And guys, any other questions, please ask Abhi, so that we can wrap it up.
Please
Also-
try to keep it relevant. Please try to
Yes.
keep it related to resume. Please don't ask us when the intern season will start, when your resumes will be logged. Today, the session was supposed to build your resume, so let's stick to that.
Oh, and one
Also,
more
guys,
point.
please keep just a second, quick. Please, it is requested from you all that don't request access to the meet. Strict actions will be taken to those students. Keep it in mind.
Yeah. So I saw a question pehle ki should I put my current internship right now? I haven't done any work on it. It will be logged soon on resume RM. So logging of resume doesn't mean that you won't be able to change it later. You can change your you can update your PDF anytime you want by the access, right? So you don't need to worry about कि मैंने अभी कुछ काम नहीं किया तो मैं अभी डालूं या ना डालूं. डाल दो, and then whenever you have a chance to update it then.
You have 2 more minutes. We'll wrap it at
Yeah.
7:45.
Yeah, I'm getting a question that's being repeated. It's what if our resume doesn't fit on one page? If it's taking 2 pages, the format is like this. I'd like to suggest this is on my own end. Just go with the 3-3-3 rule. For internships, keep three. For projects, keep three. For your PORs, keep three. And each individual one, keep 3 points. Don't try to over-explain it. Don't try to keep in sentence. Be direct. As mentioned earlier by Ishan, use your verbs correctly, and just please don't write it as I did this or in first person voice basically. So just if you follow this rule, I feel like it shouldn't cross one page. I hope that answers all of your doubts.
Okay, if you are asking for placement work experience, then it's good if you add it. It's better, like for getting your resume shortlisted.
Yeah, I'll add to that. The person whose name is Let's Code, think of it as this way. You're going to be sitting in the placements right now, and a lot of the people will be having work experience right now. So now understand the position of the recruiter. Who would he want to prefer? The person with work experience or the person without work experience? I think you can find the answer then. Even if you don't have an work experience right now, you can always go find an intern. You'll be easy to find something or the other. I know the market is tough right now, so you might have to do an unpaid intern or something, but something is always better than nothing, at least for the placement season. Intern season is not a very dependent on whether you have a previous work experience or not, but when it comes to the placement season, it is definitely recommended that you be on your best at all of the aspects in your resume.
Yes, Nishant, you can add your GitHub or LinkedIn link in your header.
You are supposed to add them. Yeah.
Can the heading internships be replace the work with X? And as I also did a couple of part-time jobs, of course it can. It's dependent on you. There's a format. You can follow this format and you can change your resume as in the way you want. But just make sure that the keywords are just synonyms of each other, so that at least the ATS system can track it. Don't go anything like work. Just make sure that it's along those lines.
Yep. So thank you very much, guys. I hope we answered all the questions well. And if there is any other questions which you have, feel free to reach out to your respective placement coordinators. And best of luck for the training internship season, and best of luck for the placement season, guys. I hope we all do well, and thank you very much for your participation today.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for joining in. All the best. I will now close the stream.